Welcome to Spotlight Gulf Coast, a weekly showcase of people and events across South Mississippi. Spotlight Gulf Coast is partnered with William Carey University and sponsored by Breeze Heating and Air, IP Casino Resort Spa, Bienville Orthopedic Specialists, the Trenchard Scholarship Fund, and Butch Osterlich.
Hi everyone, this is Todd Trenchard, Executive Director of the Baco Foundation of South Mississippi, welcoming you to another segment of Spotlight Gulf Coast, right here on WXXV. Each week we're coming into your living room talking about what's going on all across South Mississippi, and we want to thank our sponsors for this generous opportunity. One of those sponsors, of course, is Bienville Orthpaedic, and today we've got Dr. Joel Tucker. And Dr. Tucker, I'm surprised we haven't met. I had to ask you in a joking way, have you ever done a procedure on me? But I'm really looking forward to this because it's a subject I don't have a clue about, and I think that it's important that people, understand. I've seen video of it. But we're going to be talking a little bit about robotics today, and just yesterday it was, what was it, R2D2, the little thing that graced our TV, our movies, yes. Movie studios. But let's start off, Dr. Tucker, and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you did your training, what brought you here to the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Absolutely. Well, Todd, first of all, thanks for having me on your show to talk to you and your audience about this. As you said, my name is Joel Tucker. I'm originally from Batesville, Mississippi, so I'm a native Mississippian. And initially, I thought I wanted to be a mechanical engineer, so I went to engineering school first at Mississippi State and felt led at that point in time to go into medical school. So I completed my pre-medical curriculum at Mississippi State, went to medical school in Jackson. And then I went to do a fellowship, which is a 5-year training in orthopedic surgery. While I was there and in Jacksonville, I decided that I wanted to subspecialize into doing total joint replacements, specifically of the hip and the knee. So I did a 1-year fellowship at the Mayo Clinic, Florida, in order to specialize further. My wife and I, she's also a native Mississippian, we knew we wanted to come back to Mississippi, so we found this Bienville Orthopedic Surgery. Potentially, actually, Bienville Orthopedics found us.
Right.
The founder of the company, John Drake, he and my father were college roommates.
Oh wow! So
John had gotten in contact with me, telling me that they were looking for someone to come back to Mississippi as well. So that was my contact here to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So I've been here now. Started in 2011, and I've been practicing, specializing in total joints of the hips and knee replacements since here.
Now, there's a lot of ways we can go with this now, but obviously if you've been here since 2011, you've seen changes in Bienville, but also in that time, there's been a lot of changes in your specialty.
Absolutely.
And you find that with medicine, you want medicine to get more and more efficient and, over time. And of course, speaking of Dr. Drake, shout out to him because what a fine gentleman. He lived right down the street from me in Ocean Springs for years, and he and his wife were very good friends with me and my wife, and just a great guy. And then Jeff Noblin moved down the street.
Yes.
So we had Eric Graham. I thought everybody worked for me.
Well, a lot of those guys are still there, and we practice our specialties and what we love to do. And John, of course, he pretty much founded the company, so a special thank you goes out to him for doing that.
Now, during that time, Bienville has grown.
Yes.
Obviously, a lot more locations. Where would you call home, or do you move across the coast? And
well, I personally have 2 clinics that I practice from. One is our one on Cedar Lake, and the other one is in our Orange Grove office off of Dido Road.
Okay.
We do operate at our Bienville Surgery Center in Gaucher, and I also operate out of Memorial Hospital in Gulfport.
Now, I think part of having a specialized field, you want to get it out into the community, because a lot of times people are just hearing word of mouth. Oh, I
Correct.
went to a doctor, and well, it's usually better to hear it from the doctor.
That-
Or if you're a
that's
guy, guys Google it and try to
Right.
figure out everything.
So, what you were talking about with the field of orthopedic surgery is that it's grown and it's expanded. Back years when Dr. Drake first started, we were talking about him. He did everything basically under the sun when it came to orthopedics. He even told me that he did spine surgery. Well, one of the first things to branch off into a separate subspecialty from the field of orthopedics was spine surgery. So he brought on doctors that specialize in spine surgery. He kind of backed out of doing that type of work, and he
Right.
progressed on to doing more total joints. But the point is that we've branched off more and more into our subspecialty groups. And by being a subspecialist, you basically you're saying you're going to turn the focus of your practice, say 75-80% of your practice, is to that one particular portion of orthopedics. So we have at Bienville Orthopedics, we have specialists that focus on the hand. We have specialists that focus on the spine, specialists in pain management. And mine is in doing hip and knee replacements. And those are just examples. You can go to our website and find a specialist for just about any of your orthopedic needs that you come across. And you say, well, why should I choose a specialist? Why should I have somebody that did a fellowship in that and for somebody that specializes just in that field? And I think it's sort of a common sense thing. If somebody spends the vast majority of their practice doing a smaller thing, you can become highly specialized in that, more efficient.
Right.
And that's what I think, if I was a patient looking for a doctor, that's what I would be looking for, is the research backs that. The literature, the scientific literature shows that you're less likely to need to have your surgery redone if you choose it to be done by a specialist.
Okay, we've got just about a minute, and I wanted, as you were talking, I was thinking the first, I guess, exposure a lot of us had growing up was you'd always see a team doctor out on a football field.
Yeah.
And he would be the doctor, but that generally, I think, is probably where you had a lot of athletic injuries, and that's now starting to branch out into, as you get older, you get things that naturally just break down.
Well, that's one specialty that I didn't mention, is we also have sports medicine specialists. So those sports medicine doctors are the ones today mostly out on the field on the sidelines, and we have doctors that do that as well.
Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about robotics in general, and then find out just what they're capable of. Again, if you don't know, you're just seeing what you're guessing what you're seeing on TV, and the machinery or the apparatus that you use. I think they were saying the cost. I was like, what?
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
We're going to take a short commercial break, so don't touch that remote. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about Bienville Orthpaedic, who is one of our sponsors of this show. We've got Dr. Joel Tucker, and Dr. Tucker, we're talking about a little bit about what brought you to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and we got into your line of specialty, and the word keeps coming up, robotics. Which is when I came in. I said I was excited because I know very little about that. And I think a lot of people learn about specialized medicine when they need it.
Right.
So, until then,
Correct.
It's just back of mind. And but why don't you start off with that? Give us, out here view, and let's bring it in of what your specialty is.
Perfect. That sounds great. I specialize primarily in doing hip and knee replacement surgeries. Now, the concept of a hip and a knee replacement has been pretty much constant since we've been doing it for decades. Mm-hmm. The idea that the joint wears out over time use of wear and tear, or from a traumatic injury, and mm-hmm. basically the joint becomes no longer functional for that person. When that happens, we have the option to replace it. Basically, it's taking the old knee and changing it out with a new metal and plastic knee. That concept hasn't changed, but what has changed is how we actually perform the surgery. And just like computers have made improvements in everything from our things that we use on a day-to-day basis to aligning the wheels on our automobiles, and robotics have done similar things. That's what they've done for the total joint as well. Mm-hmm. It's now improved the precision and the accuracy by which I can place that knee replacement. So things that we had to try to once measure by hand on getting angles and alignment to get the leg aligned appropriately, we can do now using the robotics. So we can look at the soft tissues, the bone, the limb alignment, all together as at one point in time. Before, when we did certain knee replacement surgery, I would have to make an estimate, make a guess mm-hmm. on the steps of the surgery. So you make a cut off the end of the femur as your first step. Well, sometimes, going back during the traditional method, you would have to go back and make an adjustment to that, because as you got further along in the surgery, you realized, well, that 9mm cut wasn't the right thing, and maybe I should have made an 8, or maybe I should have gone up to 10. With the robotics, we're able to plan the entire knee replacement before we make our first cut. And that really helps with the alignment and the positioning of the implant. What's neat is that with this technology, they've done studies out of Australia, where using the Mako robotic system, they actually found that patients were less likely to have their knee redone mm-hmm. if that surgeon had used the Mako robotic system.
Now, is there some type of, I'm just thinking, I'm trying to visualize this, do you have imaging before you go in of
right. Well,
the actual
yes.
thing that you're replacing? You're able to look at it on us?
It depends on the system that you're using. There's different mm-hmm. manufacturers out there, and they have different implants, and each one uses a different technology. So the Mako, made by Stryker, that I was talking about, uses a CT scan. There's another company, Rosa, named Zimmer. Some of them don't need any preoperative X-ray mm-hmm. or CT, but you can use them. So each company is coming out with their own type of technology and using the robots.
One of the things that, a question I was joking when I came in, you're actually in the room when all this is happening.
Yes.
You're not down the hallway having a cup of coffee and the robot's doing its thing. And then
So the way the robot works is that, particularly on the one that I'm talking about with the Mako, is that it's an arm that there's an arm and it attaches the tool that I have. So what I can do with the Mako system is I can employ what's called the haptics, and the haptics basically don't allow me to cut outside of the plane that I program it in.
I got you.
So I'm controlling the robotic arm the whole time. But at some point in time, if I were to, which is a safety feature,
Right.
if I were to attempt to try to cut outside of the line that I had planned, it will actually stop me from doing that.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Now that makes a lot more sense. I wasn't sure if you were actually manning. So you're actually manning a device that is,
Correct.
Okay. And as you do this over time, you said since 2011, when did robotics become more and more prevalent, or has it always been, and now it's almost like a...
Well, the first people on the stage with this was a company called Mako. And they started around 2010, 2011. And that company, Mako, was acquired by the company called Stryker. And so there was sort of a blend from 2010 afterwards. So I've been using the Mako robotic system since around that period of time for doing hip replacements. In 2000 and around, I think it's been about 6 years now we've been using the robotic system for the knees.
Okay. We're going to have to take a short commercial break, and I want to start moving into, when does, or how do these, I guess, injuries or factors that make you need to go to that, because I'm sure there's other tests that go in before you just walk in and you're operating on them the next day.
Correct.
You're trying other things
Right.
before you do that. So we're going to take a short commercial break. We're talking with Bienville Orthopedic, Dr. Joel Tucker. Don't touch that remote. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Dr. Joel Tucker with Bienville Orthopedic. And Dr. Tucker, I know you're anxious to get over there and do the weather and do all these other exciting things here. But
right.
I appreciate you first coming on the show. And the show is very informative. A lot of people do watch this show and they learn things from it. And I think one of the questions that would come to my mind or anyone's mind, how do you know when you need to see a doctor? And we were talking off camera. You may be forced upon you with a car wreck,
right.
fall out of a tree. But there's some things that maybe just over time. So let's talk about that a little bit.
All right, perfect. So a joint is just a machine in a way, and it's a mechanical device, even though it's a device that is on our bodies, and it can get injured or damaged or have problems for lots of different reasons, just like any other machine or part can.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it happens, like you said, from a trauma and injury. You're in a car wreck, or you had a fall, or a significant work injury that occurred. Sometimes from playing sports, and athletics will cause the knee to get, or the hip or other joints to start giving you problems. For a lot of patients, it's just wear and tear over time. The cartilage, the cushioning on the end of our bones, we're basically, after we're finished growing, that's what we have left to live for the rest of our lives. And all sorts of things can happen to it during that point to cause it to wear out prematurely.
Now, if you were to have like a bad knee, that doesn't mean your other knee's bad. I mean, they can be separate. They're two separate entire...
Correct. That is right. So you can have a bad right knee and your left one be perfectly fine. However, scientists have found that there's a genetic component too. So if your parents had bad joints or worn out joints prematurely, then you possibly could as well.
So going in to see the physician for the first time, a lot of question and answer. I've learned this, with some of the things with my back, and surgery is not the first option.
Correct.
In anything. That's probably the last option that you want to take, unless it's something that's totally obvious. But there's some other things that you can try before going there. And I also found out the other part, not knowing, just things that happen in life, the importance of rehab afterwards. Because, you could put the best part in the world in if you don't
Yes.
follow rehab.
Physical therapy afterwards is extremely important.
Right.
Absolutely. So what I tell patients is that, or people that come and ask me this question, is that, if you've had a problem with a part on your body, like a hip or a knee or an ankle, that's been lasting for more than a few weeks, just come and get it checked out. You can go to our website, pull up and find a specialist in one of our fields, or just call our phone room and they can help direct you to somebody to have it checked out and evaluated. Surgery is not the first solution for most patients.
Right.
I might see 50 patients in a day in clinic, but only sign up maybe 2 or 3 for surgery, and the rest can be treated with conservative means. For the problems that you and I have been talking about today, a lot of times just changing over to wearing some shoes that have a little more cushion so that your joints aren't feeling the impact is all that you really have to do. Other patients can take medicines like Aleve, ibuprofen, Tylenol, and there's prescription versions that we can prescribe after we've checked over a few things. We also use injections for conservative measures, steroids. We've also used viscosupplementation, which is a lubricant for the knee. So there's all sorts of different types of things that we can do prior to going towards surgery that can help to improve your quality of life and get you feeling better from your arthritis.
What is the, approximate age of someone when is it 50, 60, 70, before you start seeing, like the knee? Well, that wasn't here a year ago.
Well, the range of age that I've had to do a joint replacement surgery on to help the patient has ranged from quite literally 20 years old to in their mid-90s.
Okay. So
joint disease can affect you at any age. However, the vast majority of patients I'm performing the joint replacement surgery are on the 55 to 65-year-old range and up.
So in a big group like Bienville, and you've got all these specialized physicians or departments, are y'all familiar with what each other does? So if you see someone, you know exactly who to refer.
Absolutely.
And obviously that's going to make you a lot more efficient than, I can't believe that Dr. Drake was doing all these things. Just if you think about it.
It is kind of amazing how what it started as and what we've grown into as a group and as a profession across the country.
that's a great place to sort of wrap this up a little bit, but where or what are some of the possibilities in the future? I'm sure that you've read up on some things that they may be working on that haven't been, I guess approved yet, but I mean, we always say eventually it'll just be a pill and you go back to being a baby.
Well, that would be that would be fantastic. Maybe not a baby, but I think the best technology that could come out for us here in the future would be to come up with some way to restore that cartilage that we were talking about, to where the joint replacement wasn't as necessary of a surgery. However, to my knowledge right now, we don't have anything coming down the pipeline soon that can do that. There's things out there that have been tried. They're still in research, like stem cell research that has been going on, but none that in the recent literature that I've read have shown to prove that is effective.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and like I said, medicine is one of those. It seems like exponentially gets better and better, the care that you get. It wasn't too long ago that you were doing something that today would seem,
yes,
medieval, and so there's a lot of promise, going forward, and appreciate the dedication that you give. A lot of the physicians that I grew up with, they didn't become physicians just to become a physician. You have to really care about the line of work you're in.
That's
and
true.
Care about people.
That is very true. And thank you for having me on the show again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And we thank everybody's support of the Baco Foundation of South Mississippi. Until next time, this is Todd Trenchard saying so long and may God bless.